to welcome you to the third annual Global Knowledge Forum of PMIF in the beautiful city of Cartagena. My name is Hania Dawood. I'm the practice manager of the Climate Finance and Economics Unit in the World Bank's Climate Change Group, and this is the unit in which PMIF is housed. Since the launch of PMI in 2021, our carbon pricing and carbon markets experts in DC have been tirelessly working with our colleagues in the region, in countries, to support more than 25 client countries in designing and implementing carbon pricing and carbon markets, access policies and strategies. In places like Colombia, we have Marcos here with us today. Indonesia, we have Gusti and Wawan all the way in the back, and Turkey, Ayup is with us today. We've been supporting on ETS design and implementation. And this year, we helped establish project implementation units and also supported on capacity development efforts. In places like Malaysia, Senegal, and Guinea that are exploring the feasibility of putting a price on carbon via a carbon tax, we're supporting with economy-wide impact assessments to help inform decision-making. And through our newly established just-in-time support window, we're supporting countries with carbon markets access. And we're really seeing an increase in demand from countries this year in this area. In Bhutan, for instance, and we have Chimi with us sitting all the way in the back, we've been supporting the government on a comprehensive national carbon market strategy and also on carbon markets infrastructure. Beyond the country-level work, we've been working on cutting-edge research, data, and analytics focused on carbon pricing and carbon markets. This year, we launched our State and Trends of Carbon Pricing, the 11th version of it. We launched for the first time the State and Trends of International Carbon Markets. We revamped our carbon pricing dashboard, and we continue to produce in-depth technical work on Article 6, as well as innovation on carbon market infrastructure and financial products. You'll hear more about all of this today from Flavia, who took over as PMI program manager about a year ago. Hari, Marcos, Jama, Sandhya, and the rest of the team today. If I could ask the PMI team to please stand up. And I also would like to huge thanks to Marlene, Anushri, and Panida from the PMI management unit that have been working tirelessly for the past few months to put this event and put this couple days together. Importantly, our work in PMIF is really an integral part of the bank's broader and ambitious climate agenda and our country engagement approach. Really, our mission to end poverty on a livable planet, where we've been placing climate at the center of how we think about development. Since we met last year, we've ramped up our climate commitments. Our financing flows are now fully Paris aligned. We increased our climate target to 45%. We're prioritizing supporting countries with methane reduction. We're shifting from measuring climate inputs to measuring climate impacts. And importantly, we announced as a priority scaling high integrity and high impact carbon markets. We launched during COP28 our carbon markets engagement roadmap, and you'll hear more about that today. We're also ramping up our focus on diagnostics that help countries identify climate priorities, but also an investable pipeline of projects. We're doing this through CCDRs, Country Climate Development Reports. By the end of this year, we'll have completed 60 CCDRs for our client countries. We're doing it through what we're calling global challenge programs in sectors like water, food security, forests and biodiversity, all that are critically impacted by climate change, through more efficient delivery of regional and multi-country engagements. And in the middle of all of this, PMI really plays a critical role. All of us in the room here know and appreciate that carbon pricing policies are critical to send a pricing signal that really helps money go where it's supposed to go. And for carbon markets, how critical they can be to channel climate finance, especially from the north to the south and from the private sector to emerging markets. And our ambition for PMIF is to be the one-stop shop for carbon markets and carbon pricing capacity building and innovation, and to continue to deliver cutting-edge data and analytics on Paris-aligned carbon markets and carbon pricing. And we're all on track with this, truly thanks to the support from our donors, our country clients, our knowledge and technical partners, to all of you that are here with us today. Thank you for being trusted and committed partners from the early days of PMI, the old incarnation of it, PMR, in the last decade, through the early days of the Paris Agreement, to this moment today when the urgency for climate action has never been more critical. We have a packed 2 days ahead of us, and we're counting on all of you to bring your insights and to candidly surface the issues that are most important to you, the challenges and opportunities to scale carbon pricing and carbon markets. I just had a conversation with several of you here about how important it is to really get to the crux of what are the challenges and what are the bottlenecks. Often in the context of carbon pricing and carbon markets, we tend to avoid and beat around the bush. And the PMIF perspective is until we really start talking about what's the issue with use case, what's the political economy challenges in implementing ETS systems, it's just going to be a bunch of talk, and that's not what PMIF is about. Don't forget to join us today at 6 p.m. for a reception, which is kindly sponsored by our friends from Japan, from the Article 6 Implementation Partnership. Thank you, Kazu. And without further ado, I'd like to pass the floor to our director, Jennifer Serra, our Global Director for Climate Change in the bank.
So thank you very much, Hania. Good morning, everyone. I have distinguished participants, country representatives, PMI knowledge partners, colleagues, but I'm going to say friends. I think this is the third time that I've been to a PMI event, and the formal event, but I've been to many other events, and now I'm starting to recognize faces in the room, and it really is. It's a really, really special community that you have here, that you've formed over all the years, and this knowledge sharing, it really builds on people getting to meet each other face to face, sharing experiences, and I think that's critical what this partnership is about. I want to give a huge thanks to Colombian colleagues for hosting us in this beautiful historic city of Cartagena. Absolutely beautiful. We had the opportunity to go on a sunset cruise last night, and it actually stopped raining enough time just to see the sun set. So that was a good omen for the meeting today. I also want to reiterate, Hania was saying how important this partnership is to the World Bank, as we really are doubling down on our vision on alleviating poverty, but really the livable planet, and where climate change sits in that, and how important it is for all of us to step up on climate ambition. So what the World Bank is doing is everything we do is enshrined in the Paris Agreement, and it's to support countries, because we're not a party to the Paris Agreement, we support countries, to really have a high level of ambition, and the commitments through NDCs, long-term strategies, looking at UNFCCC negotiations, Article 6, it's important, we think, that looking at the global architecture structure under which then carbon markets work. And what we want then, as part of also what the bank is doing, is that we have a new knowledge compact and partnerships. And so this is critical. So PMI is one of the best examples of a program that brings together partnerships, and how we can do this in the space of knowledge exchange on market implementation, especially carbon market implementation, looking at how do we avoid fragmentation and how do we capture the synergies. So these partnerships and knowledge are absolutely essential for PMI's twin objectives. It's to work with countries to assess, design, and implement domestic carbon pricing instruments, and also, importantly, to prepare the next generation of international carbon markets. Right now, we're operating and supporting 32 countries, 22 on domestic carbon pricing implementation at the implementation stage, and another 22 that are being supported with readiness to participate in international carbon markets. So it's really important to develop the national vision, national strategy, and also constantly think of how it links into the regional and international markets. So over the next 2 days, we'll have discussions that will focus on domestic carbon crediting mechanisms and international carbon markets, and the interplay between the two of them, so we can dive deeper into the opportunities and what is needed to take advantage of them. So the first thing we will consider is domestic carbon pricing policies, again in the context of ambitious NDCs, recognizing this is the year that every country is updating their NDCs. Domestic carbon pricing policies can be an efficient driver of change for economic sectors and for industries, and countries can use them to achieve their goals and increase climate ambition. In this year's, how many of you have seen the 2024 State and Trends report? The Carbon Market State and Trends Carbon Pricing Report? Okay, so half the room. So we will give you a link.
Like a lot of shy people.
A lot of shy people. So this year we were able to release last month in May the 2024 State and Trends of Carbon Pricing Report. And what it's showing that there's a growing momentum around the world. There's 75 carbon pricing instruments in operation around the world, and they're generating over $100 billion in revenue in 2023. And what we're seeing now is that more countries are making big strides towards implementation. And we have in the room Brazil, Turkey, really, really good examples, China as well, and they're all members of this PMI family. However, despite a decade of strong growth, levels of carbon prices and global coverage remain too low to meet the Paris Agreement goals. We see that jurisdictions are increasingly including carbon crediting into their policies, with 35 mechanisms currently implemented and additional 14 that are being considered. Carbon crediting is interesting because it provides more flexibility for compliance, and it also attracts additional international finance through voluntary carbon markets and helps facilitate the participate in international compliance markets. On international carbon markets, it is good to see that these are gaining momentum. High-integrity carbon markets can be a game changer to mobilize climate finance and accelerate decarbonization. But we all know they have to be trustworthy, they have to be transparent, they have to result in real climate mitigation, they have to bring tangible benefits, and especially for developing countries and for communities. We also know there's two sides to integrity. You have the supply side integrity and the demand side integrity, and they go hand in hand. The World Bank has been supporting countries by providing technical assistance and financing to enable countries to generate and now to sell high-integrity carbon credits in the forests and other sectors and bring benefits for people and communities. As Hania mentioned, last year at COP28, we launched an engagement roadmap to scale up ambition and support countries better access carbon markets while working to strengthening the global architecture. As countries gear up for the next round of NDCs, due ahead of COP30, we see immense potential to integrate carbon pricing and carbon markets into their climate and development strategies and policy frameworks, adapted to each jurisdiction's unique set of conditions and needs to leverage their full potential and align with countries' development objectives. I look forward to hearing the experiences from the PMI countries and its different participants in the room as well, and knowledge brokers, on how you are making these important advances in carbon pricing, carbon markets, and in integrating with national plans and pathways. We do hope the next 2 days at our Global Knowledge Forum is about sharing experiences and learning from one another. I also grateful to the Japanese government for sponsoring us and inviting us to an evening reception. And in this context, I also want to turn it over to a core partner, Judy Meltzer, who is the Director General of the Carbon Markets Bureau at Environment and Climate Change Canada. She's been leading Canada's participation in the Global Carbon Pricing Challenge and a dear friend and colleague to the whole PMI family. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer and Hania. Buenos días. Es un placer estar aquí hoy en este importante evento y un gran agradecimiento al equipo del Banco Mundial y todos nuestros colegas aquí. So thank you. It's just a real pleasure to be here today for the PMI Global Knowledge Forum on carbon pricing mechanisms and international carbon markets. I'd like to say a big thank you to our World Bank colleagues and our partners in the room, as well as our Colombian partners, for hosting this important event and in such a wonderful location. I think you'll hear that from a lot of us through the next few days. Carbon pricing is certainly a pillar of Canada's climate plan as a flexible, efficient way to reduce emissions. We know that carbon pricing is more effective as more countries adopt it, and we recognize the importance of sharing knowledge and working with partners to support the expansion of carbon pricing and robust carbon markets. We're very proud to support the PMI. It plays a critical role in advancing this work. And as you can see here today, serves as a linchpin, bringing countries, but also other organizations and knowledge partners together, including the Global Carbon Pricing Challenge, but also ICAP, AIDA, Article 6 Implementation Partnership, the OECD, and others. And this, in our view, this is just key to maintaining momentum and promoting a coordinated, coherent approach as we all move together, and really an important role in connecting those dots between carbon pricing and carbon markets, both domestic and international. We know firsthand the importance of including carbon pricing and carbon markets in our suite of climate policy measures domestically, but we also really know firsthand the challenges in doing so. As was noted, we've seen some important trends this past year, including the emergence of flexible designs and approaches to carbon pricing that reflect particular national circumstances, the increasing use of different and multiple types of carbon pricing systems and instruments, and also growing attention to how voluntary and compliance credit markets fit within this context. The PMI Global Knowledge Forum represents a really important opportunity for us in the next few days to bring together partners and practitioners to have in-depth and, as Hania emphasized, really candid discussions about carbon pricing and carbon markets, not just in terms of the progress, which of course we're all interested to see and hear, but really also the challenges faced and some potential solutions that we might be considering. These concrete exchanges on how we can develop and expand carbon pricing and carbon markets to accelerate decarbonization globally are truly valuable. And I really look forward to the discussions over the coming next few days. So thank you very much, and a big thank you to our colleagues from the World Bank for pulling this together.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Judy.